This is Rick Malone for the San Francisco Symphony. Zoltán Kodály might not be as famous a composer as his fellow Hungarians Béla Bartók and Franz Liszt, but he made his mark on the music world in two other very significant ways. He invented one of the best-known and most popular methods for teaching music, named after him, and he was one of the first to study and practice the brand-new discipline of ethnomusicology. He and his friend Bartók lugged a wax cylinder recorder around the countryside of Central Europe, recording and preserving traditional folk songs and dances before their cultures disappeared. Along the way, Kodály's own compositions took on the flavor of these traditional tunes, and he adapted many others for the concert hall. Kodály grew up in a musical household, and he was encouraged by his parents to explore the musical world around him. Since his father was a station master for the Hungarian Railway and was transferred quite a bit, young Zoltán heard and learned music from all over the region, and he even wrote his doctoral dissertation for the Budapest Academy of Music on Hungarian folk songs, a subject that was dismissed by most serious music scholars in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Kodály went off to study in Paris and Berlin and then returned to Budapest, where he taught at the academy and worked as a critic for magazines and newspapers while he composed. Even though his first love had been chamber music, his best-known works these days are the ones he wrote for orchestra, probably because they're full of the colors and rhythms he grew up with, studied, and collected during his travels. In 1927, Kodály wrote a piano suite called Dances of Marasek, which celebrated a section of Transylvania he had visited while growing up. He orchestrated that work in 1930, and it was such a success that he wrote a second set of dances as a kind of sequel. These were the dances of Galánta, which Kodály described as a small Hungarian market town known to travelers between Vienna and Budapest. The composer passed several years of his childhood there, end quote. For some reason, Kodály wrote his note in the third person. He explained, at the time there existed a famous gypsy band that has since disappeared. This was the first orchestral sonority that came to the ears of the child. About 1800, some books of Hungarian dances were published in Vienna. They have preserved the old traditions. In order to keep it alive, the composer has taken his principal themes from these old publications, end quote. There are 5 dances of Galánta, all based in some way on the Hungarian verbunkos, which was originally a recruitment dance that was popular in taverns. After all, who wouldn't want to join the military if you could drink and dance like this? The verbunkos typically start slowly and gradually increase in tempo. Franz Liszt wrote most of his Hungarian rhapsodies in verbunkos style. The slow section usually has a kind of swagger or strut, while the fast finish is all about foot-stomping energy. In this set of dances, Kodály pays particular tribute to the gypsy bands he heard in his youth, with lots of solos by the clarinet. The gypsy bands would have used a tárogató, which is a relative of the clarinet with a long and tortured history in Hungary. It was brought there from Turkey in the Middle Ages during the wars and was used as a signaling instrument in battle. It was banned by the Austrian monarchy in the 18th century because it was a symbol of the Hungarian War for Independence. But later on, it became a symbol of the Hungarian aristocracy and a favorite of Admiral Horthy, the controversial governor of the country in the mid-20th century. But the dances of Galánta are not just a study of Hungarian folk songs. Everything is filtered through Kodály's style of popular modernism and his gift for orchestral color. His lifelong friend Béla Bartók once said, "If I were to name the composer whose works are the most perfect embodiment of the Hungarian spirit, I would answer Kodály. The reason is his unshakable faith and trust in the constructive power and future of his people." End quote. This is Rick Malone for the San Francisco Symphony.